The sacred scriptures are very clear in distinguishing what is right and what is wrong. And if we are to be salt of the earth, it's not going to be a pleasant message to some if you reveal what it says about certain activities and standards that God has set forth for society and for individuals. It can be a real contentious, dividing, and even provoke hostility, which I don't like to do. I try to emphasize the good parts and the parts that people that are not offensive, like love and charity and goodness and kindness and wholesomeness and tenderness and all those good qualities that Christians are supposed to exhibit. But to bring up the other stuff that it mentions, like the don'ts and the do's, like against thievery, against drunkenness, against profanity, against foulness, against certain sexual behaviors, against adultery, against fornication, against many other things. If you bring those up against in certain groups, if you bring those subjects up, it can create either animosity, or it can give some people to think about, consider. I personally don't feel like it's my calling to point my finger at other people and try to make a statement or a fashion show or use some measuring tape to measure people's what they're doing with themselves. And so, what does it mean to be the salt of the earth? Jesus said that to his disciples, and the disciples went out and they were saying some things that were that some people received and some people rejected. Not everybody endorsed their message, and some became very hostile to the things that they said, especially the religious elite. But yeah, I don't like conflict. I don't like to be in conflict. I don't like to create conflict. And yet, believers are told to be the salt of the earth. Now, is that believers in general, or was that just to his apostles that he was talking to, his disciples? Because it seems like elsewhere, when he writes letters to the churches, he tells the rest of the laity to just mind their own business and work hard and not to be busybodies, gossipers, or not to, be obnoxious or rude, but to reflect God's light in a positive way, which is kind of like a good thing to consider. Reflect God's light in a positive way, not to repel people unnecessarily, with the wrong approach. Jesus was pretty tactful in the way that he brought the message. Same with the apostles. The only squabble, the only time he was sort of contentious was with the people that were held accountable for knowing God, and they were supposed to know because they were his chosen people, and they were people of the book. The Quran says, the people of the book. The Pentateuch, the Torah. And they were supposed to know, and they were supposed to be applying what they knew to their own lives to reflect God's character to the rest of the nations. But they failed because they wanted to be like the other nations. So that's where they dropped the ball. And that's why the new covenant had to be established, because they completely fouled up the old covenant. So yeah, being salt in the earth is, man, it's purifying, but man, it can burn too. Salt burns sores, it burns the skin, but at the same time it purifies.